The formal synopsis statement: while modern clinical frameworks often sentimentalize human suffering, a synthesis of Roman Stoicism and Christian Gnosticism offers a rigorous alternative for veteran pastoral care, specifically by integrating Epictetus's foundational smoky house metaphor with Seneca's strict moral calculus governing the open door. A chaplain can honor a veteran's absolute rational autonomy without validating an exit born of emotional despair. Furthermore, by anchoring this earthly endurance within the Gnostic framework of life as an active process of gnosis, where the soul must gather remembrance to bypass cosmic gatekeepers and ascend to the pleroma, this integrated philosophy transforms physical existence from an unendurable material trap into a voluntary, purposeful proving ground where worldly trauma is actively mastered rather than prematurely bypassed. How this synopsis breaks down the 8 points. 1. The context and contrast. It establishes up front that this approach rejects whiny or overly sentimental scripts in favor of dignified ancient philosophy. 2. Epictetus, points 1 and 3, it explicitly brings in the smoky house and differentiates the rigorous classical concept from modern softened paraphrases. 3. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, points 2 and 7, it integrates Seneca's strict rules, rational calculation versus emotional panic, and the Stoic concept of voluntary endurance. 4. Veteran chaplaincy, point 4, it explicitly names the practical application, honoring a veteran's absolute autonomy and sovereign agency. 5. The divine spark and remembrance, point 5, it frames life not as a prison, but as a journey of gnosis, remembrance, to rediscover who we are outside of our physical constructs. 6. The pleroma and gnosis, point 8. It directly references the mechanics of the soul's ascent, the acquisition of knowledge, gnosis, and the ultimate destination of cosmic fullness. 7. Earthly resolution, points 6 and 9. It concludes with the why, proving that the smoke of this life must be actively worked through and mastered on the ground, making staying a powerful spiritual victory. Synopsis and outline. The philosophy of the open door, a synthesis of Roman Stoicism, Christian Gnostic spirituality for veteran pastoral care. First core historical context, Epictetus's smoky house. The foundation of the open door philosophy originates in classical antiquity, primarily through the teachings of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. The citation, Discourses, Book 1, Chapter 25, titled On Same-Mindedness, or On General Principles. The metaphor, has someone made smoke in the house? If it is moderate, I will stay. If it is excessive, I leave. For you must remember and hold fast to this, that the door is open. The philosophical principle, the open door doctrine, jus moriendi, frames physical existence as entirely voluntary. Stoicism argues that if external, tyrannical, or agonizing circumstances completely prevent a person from living rationally and virtuously, they retain the ultimate autonomous right to exit. Second evolution of the metaphor in Roman Stoicism. The concept evolved as it was adopted by later Roman thinkers, shifting from personal autonomy to civic duty and defiance of tyranny. A. Marcus Aurelius, The Principle of Endurance, Source Meditations, Book 5, Section 29. The concept, the house is smoky and I quit it. Why dost thou think that this is any trouble? But so long as nothing of the kind drives me out, I remain. Application, Marcus Aurelius used the metaphor to build resilience. If life's daily grievances, the smoke, are tolerable, a person has a duty to stay and serve the common good. Knowing the exit is always available transforms staying into a voluntary choice rather than a forced prison sentence. The younger, the equalizer against tyranny source, Moral Letters to Lucilius, Letter 70, On the proper time to slip the cable, the concept, Seneca did not use the smoke analogy, but championed the open door. He famously wrote that liberty sits at the bottom of a well or a precipice, and that any vein in the body is a highway to freedom. Application: Seneca viewed the choice of death as humanity's ultimate protection against subjugation. Knowing a person can leave at any time strips all earthly tyrants and afflictions of their power. Third, modern paraphrase versus classical text. During the discussion, a specific poetic phrasing was analyzed. When the smoke in a house becomes too thick to breathe, a soul will sometimes look for the open door just to find clean air. Origin: this is a modern creative paraphrase rather than a literal translation from antiquity. Function: classical translations are blunt and pragmatic, often comparing life to children ending a game. Modern interpretations introduce evocative words like soul and clean air to soften the language and capture the emotional, psychological weight of severe burnout, trauma, or moral suffering. Fourth, application to veteran chaplaincy and pastoral care. The integration of Stoic philosophy into counseling veterans provides a framework that departs significantly from conventional modern emotional scripts, restoring sovereign agency rather than treating a struggling individual as a passive casualty of trauma or a clinical patient. Stoicism treats them as a rational sovereign agent who possesses absolute command over their choices. The paradox of strength, acknowledging that the door is open, can paradoxically give a suffering person the fortitude to stay. When enduring a smoky house transitions from forced captivity into a daily, conscious choice, it restores a sense of personal honor and control. Language of duty and grit. Military culture inherently values endurance, mission, and self-determination. The pragmatic, non-judgmental language of Stoicism often resonates more deeply with veterans than mainstream therapeutic models centered on self-pity or vulnerability. Fifth, the Gnostic dimension, the journey of remembrance. The discussion concluded by bridging grounded Stoicism with transcendent, mystical spirituality. Resembling ancient Gnostic and Neoplatonic traditions, the materialist world versus the divine spark. Physical existence is viewed as a temporary construct or classroom. The soul is a divine spark, traveling along a cosmic journey back to the pleroma, the divine totality or fullness. The concept of gnosis, remembrance. Life in this physical world is an active process of remembering who we truly are, stripping away the artificial constructs, traumas, labels, and environments of the material world. The imperative of earthly resolution. While the soul's ultimate destination is transcendent, the lessons, conflicts, and smoke of this material world must be actively worked through and integrated in this life rather than bypassed. Sixth, summary of the conceptual balance. 1. The spiritual base, the why, provides ultimate security by establishing that human consciousness is eternal, divine, and safely anchored beyond the physical construct. 2. The Stoic toolkit, the how, provides the daily tactical grit required to master the mind, endure the smoke, clear the debris, and fulfill our duties to one another on the ground. 7th, Seneca's calculus, when to stay versus when to leave in Moral Letters to Lucilius, letter 70. Seneca outlines the precise ethical boundaries governing the open door. For Seneca, life is not inherently a good thing, only a virtuous life is a good thing. He provides explicit rules for calculating whether to endure the smoke or exit the house. 5, 6, 7a. The primary rule, quality over quantity, the text, he always reflects concerning the quality and not the quantity of his life. The rule, clinging to life purely to rack up days is a sign of fear, not virtue. If a person's life is reduced to mere biological survival devoid of reason, duty, or dignity, staying alive ceases to be a moral imperative. 5, 8b. When it is virtuous to leave, the justified exit. 1. Destruction of mental autonomy. If a tyrant or a circumstance is about to force you to act viciously, betray your morals, or compromise your virtue, you must leave the door as open so you cannot be forced to do evil. 9.2. Unbearable, degrading bodily decay. Seneca notes that if severe illness completely destroys the peace of mind and the power of reason, a wise person may choose to slip the cable. He writes, "Must I await the cruelty either of disease or of man when I can depart through the midst of torture?" 5, 6, 10, 3. Preventing degeneracy leaving is justified if remaining alive will inevitably cause you to lose your grip on your own sanity or moral character due to overwhelming agony. 5. C. When it is virtuous to stay, the imperative to endure. 1. The rule of the soldier, duty to others. You cannot leave out of mere panic, a temporary emotional breakdown, or to escape a standard difficult duty. Seneca views life as a military post. You do not desert your post just because the weather gets bad. You stay to complete your assignment for the common good. 2. The threat of public opinion. Seneca warns against out loud, have you asked life just because people are speaking ill of you, or out of a desire for a dramatic or brave reputation. Leaving out of pride or shame is an emotional vice, not a rational choice. 10. 3. The power to still formulate thought. If your physical body is shattered or imprisoned, but your rational mind is still capable of independent, clear, and virtuous thought, you must stay. The smoke is still tolerable. 4, 6, 11, 8, the pleroma and the soul's ascent in Gnostic texts in ancient Gnostic cosmology, found in primary sources like the Gospel of Truth, the Apocryphon of John, and the Gospel of Mary, the pleroma, Greek for fullness, is the ultimate divine realm of light. It stands in stark contrast to the material cosmos, which was viewed as a flawed artificial matrix built by a lower, blind creator entity, the demiurge, or Yaldabaoth. 1, 12, 13, 15a. The nature of the pleroma. In ancient texts, the realm of fullness, the pleroma, is described not as a geographic place in the sky, but as a primordial state of perfect, harmonious, undivided consciousness. It is composed of eons, divine emanations or archetypes representing concepts like mind, truth, grace, and life. 3, 12, 16, 17. The source of the spark, the human soul, is not native to earth. It contains a stolen or fallen divine spark, pneuma, that originates directly from the pleroma. Trapped within the physical construct of the body and mind, the spark suffers from a spiritual amnesia, forgetting its true home. 1, 13, 18, 19, 20. B. The mechanics of the soul's ascent according to texts like the Gospel of Mary and the first Apocalypse of James. The journey of the soul back to the pleroma upon physical death is a precise, tactical navigation. 2. 1. Breaking through the archons, the gatekeepers. The material universe is ringed by planetary spheres governed by hostile cosmic entities called archons. These entities act as celestial border guards designed to keep the divine spark trapped in the cycle of physical reincarnation by weaponizing guilt, fear, and worldly attachment. 2. The weapon of gnosis, active knowledge. The soul cannot ascend by blind faith or emotional pleading. It ascends through gnosis, experiential, direct spiritual insight, and self-knowledge. The soul must literally know the names and secrets of the planetary toll collectors to pass past them unhindered. 3. The speech of freedom. In Gnostic liturgies for the dying, the soul is instructed to boldly declare its independence to the archons. It says, I am a son from the Father, I am from the entirety, and I belong to the pre-existent one. By claiming its lineage to the pleroma, the soul strips the material rulers of their authority. 4. Reunion. In the bridal chamber, once the soul ascends past the planetary spheres, it sheds the physical and psychic constructs of Earth. It re-enters the pleroma through a mystical process often called the bridal chamber, where the individual spark reunites with its divine heavenly twin archetype, restoring the universe to total wholeness. 2. The integrated synthesis for counseling and writing. When you hold Seneca's rules alongside Gnostic cosmology, you gain a dual-layer map for crisis pastoral care, the internal fortress. When a veteran is overwhelmed by the archons of this world, trauma, guilt, moral injury, you don't fight the thoughts with secular platitudes. You treat the trauma as part of the temporary material construct. The ultimate target, you remind the individual that their ultimate task is remembrance. They cannot let the smoke trick them into a hasty exit driven by panic or despair, which Seneca calls a vice. Instead, they must achieve gnosis here on the ground, remembering their divine nature so clearly that they master the physical construct, work out their issues, and eventually ascend cleanly, fully intact when their true mission is complete. 1. www.melamuproject.eu. 2. davidsanoof.medium.com. 3. gnosticismexplained.org. www.youtube.com. 5. www.youtube.6. medium.com. 7. www.supersummary.com. 8. romanletters.org. 9. www.reddit.com. 10. n.wikisource.org. 11. 12. davidsanoof.medium.com. 13. www.sophian.org. 14. Deleted. 15. www.gnosis.org. 16. www.scribd.com. 17. https x.com. 18. https://www.reddit.com. 19. https://davidsnoof.ac.uk. The conception of redemption in the Gnostic theologies of the 1st and 2nd centuries. James Baldwin Corston, a doctoral thesis, University of Edinburgh School of Divinity, 1938-22, www.gnosis.org.